anybody to be on anyway. Hey, happy Friday night. I'm gonna be here doing our second segment in our series of cooking techniques. You may hear my grandson. He's going to be 4 months old and he's over there cooing. And we are also having some work done in our kitchen. My dog is barking and such is life. You know, it's just sort of my chaotic life. So just bear with me if you hear extemporaneous sounds, babies, dogs, plumbers, husbands, whatever. Just kind of go with it. All right, so we're just gonna go ahead and get started. Hey, Chris, thanks for joining me. So I'm gonna go ahead and get started and talk tonight about steaming, boiling, and blanching. So the first thing we're gonna talk about is steaming. And this is gonna be a kind of an odd one. We're gonna start with what people normally call hard-boiled eggs. But the best way to make a hard-boiled egg so that you don't get that green weird ring is to use a steamer. So what you're gonna do is you take one of these steamers that you find in the grocery store, and you're gonna put your eggs into the steamer, and you're just gonna place them around, and then you're going to add just about three inches worth of water to the bottom of your pot. So my pot looks like this. Once the water comes up to a boil, you're gonna place that steamer basket with the eggs in it and cover it and leave it to boil for exactly 12 minutes. Exactly 12 minutes. All right, so once it's boiled for 12 minutes, then you're gonna put it into a cold water ice bath. That stops the cooking. And that's the thing, you want to stop the cooking immediately because otherwise you'll end up with a green ring around it. So once they've cooled, which these have because I did them a little earlier, they're super easy to peel. You just dip them in the water, start at the bottom, and go ahead and peel them. To make it even easier, you can poke a hole in the bottom of the egg before you go ahead and steam them. So we're gonna go ahead and peel this egg. It should be relatively easy. You should get a nice peel. Yep, here we go. Here goes the whole peel. And then you just rinse it off. And when you cut this in half, you should have a nice yellow center. No green ring. So with any luck, we have a nice yellow center here with no green ring. And instead of using them like you normally would use them, and you could eat it like that, which is a good source of protein, tonight I'm using it as a little side. So most of you have had a caprese salad. This one is made with egg whites. So it's egg whites here with a little piece of basil. I removed the yolk and instead I put a cherry tomato and I glazed it with a little bit of balsamic vinegar. So when you eat it, it tastes just like a caprese salad, but you have a lot more protein in here and a little bit less fat. Okay, so moving on. That's what our egg looked like, just in case you didn't get to see it. We're gonna go ahead and start our asparagus first. And we're gonna steam our asparagus. Again, I covered the bottom with water. And you can use broth, you can use water, you can use anything to flavor the water. So you can put vegetables underneath it, you can put herbs underneath it. Right now we're just keeping this one plain, okay? So I'm gonna go ahead and get my asparagus. And this can be done with really any vegetables. I just use the asparagus because that is what looked good at the market. So I'm gonna go ahead and grab that. And if you wanna use the whole stalk of asparagus, you're gonna take a vegetable peeler and you're just gonna take off that bottom part that's really tough and just get that nasty fibrous layer off. Or the other part you can do is just cut it at the band so you get just the top parts that are the tender parts. That's what we're gonna do for tonight. But I really hate to waste these parts, so I just cut off the woody ends and then go ahead and do that. So we're gonna go ahead and place those in our basket so you can see what that looks like. Placing it right in the basket. I'm gonna move this out of the way and move our cooktop back. It's a little bit of a shell game going on here. Now this is an induction oven, so it heats up very quickly when it wants to work. And we need it to just bump up here in temperature. Oh, hold on a minute, I gotta plug it in. That always helps. And this will actually steam very quickly. So before we get, we'll turn that on, and before we get going, we're gonna salt it with some kosher salt to get started. And we're gonna hit it with some lemon. So I just slice a piece of lemon. Go ahead and spray that on there. And then we're going to start our thing here. We're just gonna plus. And we're gonna get that started. And I'm gonna cover this, and we're gonna let that steam until they turn bright green and they're tender. In the meantime, while that's going, I need to find the lid. Hang on a second, there's our lid. In the meantime, while that's cooking, we're gonna go ahead and get some sesame tahini, which you can find in the grocery store near the peanut butter. You're gonna get the sesame tahini, and you can add a little bit of lemon juice to that. And that's gonna go on top of that asparagus when it's done. Because what we're trying to do is layer things with flavor. When you steam something, it doesn't necessarily have a lot of flavor to it. What it does do is it retains all the nutrients. So if I were to boil that asparagus, it would not retain much of the nutrients as I am getting when I steam it. So the point is that we want to retain as much of the nutrients of our food as possible. So let me go ahead and grab a spoon, and we'll get a little bowl. And we're gonna add a little bit of the sesame tahini in here. It looks sort of just like peanut butter, but it is in fact sesame flavored. And we're gonna get the bunch of our lemon. I'm gonna go ahead and squeeze that juice right into there. And we're just gonna take our spoon and just mix that in. And if you find that it's just too thick, like this is a bit thick, you can add a little bit of water to that, so just to thin it out. Now, we actually have a lot of different options. Tonight I'm using the tahini, but you could use really anything. I've got this great pesto aioli, comes in a squirt bottle, so you can just squirt that on. I've got sriracha aioli, which is really nice. It's got a little bit of kick to it, so that's super yummy. I'm sure you've had bang bang shrimp somewhere. I've got some bang bang sauce that you can use that as well. So the great thing about eating veggies most is that you can really accessorize. You can add the flavors that you love and still keep it figure friendly, I guess call it. All right, so we've got our tahini that we could put on that we're going to put on there. So we'll let that go. And in the meantime, we're going to talk about our fish. So decided tonight as our protein that we're going to do fish because it's very quick cooking, and I'm sure that you do not want to be here all night watching me cook. So I've got here a salmon. The salmon is already marinated. I'm not a salmon lover, so I also bought some haddock, which I will eat, and so that is going to be my protein. And I also brought it to room temperature. The reason I brought it to room temperature is because if you're trying to cook fish when it's cold, your outside is going to cook fast and your inside is not going to get done. What you want is your whole fish to have the same temperature so that it cooks evenly. All right, so we're going to hit this both with some kosher salt. Kosher salt here. And you really want a good amount of salt because once it hits that water, that salt's going to dissipate. It's going to go right into the water and you're really going to left with no flavor. And we want flavor. So pepper. Turn these over, salt and pepper. You'll see one side has the skin and one side does not, so we're not going to even bother doing this skin because we're not eating that skin. All right, so I'm just going to add some kosher salt to this side, and we are good there. And let's check our asparagus. As I said, this cooks very quickly. We want to retain a little bit of the bite to it, but we don't want to overcook it because we don't want asparagus mush. We want it to be nice and soft. Okay, it needs just a minute more, but you can see it's got a nice bend to it. We're just looking for a little bit less snap to it. It still has a bit of a snap to it, so we just want it to go for maybe a minute longer. And we'll let our protein set aside, and we're going to take a look at something I did a little bit earlier. So I love spaghetti squash, but it's super hard to cut in half. So what I do is I wrap it in plastic wrap or put it in a resealable bag, and I put it in the microwave for 20 minutes. This allows the whole squash to get soft. So essentially it's steaming in its own juices in the microwave. And the microwave is actually a really good option for steaming because it comes to temperature very quickly. So once the steam dissipates a little bit, it's easier to handle. But since we don't have a lot of time, we're gonna do it this way. All right, so now that it's all fully steamed, it's super easy just to take out our seeds. I have a garbage bowl over here. I'm gonna take out our seeds and we can shred up our squash. And then from that point, you can use it just like pasta. You can add tomato sauce. You can saute some sausage and put it with that and add a little bit of tomatoes, fresh tomatoes. It's super versatile and super yummy. And it's a vegetable. So you could have 1 cup of regular pasta, or you could have 10 cups of spaghetti squash. So being the volume eater that I am, I like to eat big meals. I like to feel like I actually ate something at the end of the day. So for me, this is a great solution because I love spaghetti squash. Now the thing of it is you have to dry it out because it can be very wet, and that will actually make your sauce get really soupy. So you know, let it dry, use a paper towel, dry up any excess, and then you're just gonna take a fork and you're going to just shred it. So you just come in here and shred, and you'll see it's got little pasta-like shreds. And you can use it in any way you would use pasta, but I particularly like to do, sometimes I just do a little butter and some Parmesan cheese and call it a day. You know, just saute it real quick after it's steamed, good to go. You can also cook it in the oven, but being that I'm always trying to do 5,000 things at once, this is a super easy way to do it. So we'll move that aside, take out our asparagus, and then we'll go ahead and cook our fish. The fish will take between 5 and 8 minutes. So I'm gonna go ahead and take our asparagus out. Let that, and there will be some carryover cook time for the asparagus, so that it will keep on trucking. And we're going to use the same water for our fish, so we don't even need to move that. But we do need to clean off our area here because it's getting a little crazy. All right, so let's go ahead and we're going to put, again, slide this over so y'all can see. We're going to put our skin side down. And you just place it in the basket, like so. And it is a little hot, so be careful. Don't do like I just did and put your fingers in it. All right, there we go. And then we'll cover that. And in anywhere from 5, maybe 3 to 5 minutes or so, we'll check it. It should be done because they're fairly small size pieces, and we should be in good shape there. Move this over. I'm sort of running out of plates, so hang on just a second. Let me grab another plate, which is a kind of a maze to do. Oh. If you could see the ridiculous methodology of all this stuff everywhere is just crazy. It is a little crazy at my house right now. All right, so here we have our asparagus that I just took out. First thing you're gonna do before you serve anything is you're gonna taste it. Make sure it's seasoned properly. Good amount of salt, good amount of bite. I like how done it is. So I'm good with that. And then we're gonna decide what we're gonna put on it. We're gonna use some tahini. We could use the aioli. We can use the sriracha. We can use the lemon aioli, the sriracha aioli. Use the bang bang. But I think, given that I have seafood, I'm going to use the pesto aioli on some of them, and some of them I'm going to use the tahini. So I'm just going to go ahead and squirt that on across the top. And then I'll take my tahini sauce and I'll squirt it with a little bit of fresh lemon. Same thing, just a little bit over the top, just a tiny bit there. Perfect. And a little more fresh lemon. We're good to go, and you can kind of see what that looks like. Because my eggs sort of slide around. So that will be what I serve on the side with the fish, okay? And then, let's see how this comes together. And while the fish is cooking, I want to talk to you about the difference between steaming, boiling, blanching, okay? When you're steaming, there is no contact with the water. It is just the condensation cooking it in the heat, the indirect heat. When you're blanching, you're bringing the water up to a boil, you're dropping your food in and quickly taking it out. So really you're just heating it through sometimes you're just trying to take off the peel, sometimes you're just trying to blanch it so that you can freeze it, but it's just a really quick drop in boiling water and out. When you're boiling something, you are actually cooking it until it's completely done. Boiling is the enemy of protein, so you never want to put protein into boiling water. Simmering water, yes. Boiling water, no. So if you've ever made chicken soup and at the end of the time your chicken in your soup is like rubber or really dry and the rest of the soup is wet and you're thinking, how could this possibly be? Because it's moist. That is the reason. You have overboiled your chicken. So the recommendation is to steam your proteins or just lightly simmer your proteins in broth, or it's called court bouillon, flavored liquid, wine, water, bouillon, stock. Let's talk a little bit about stock versus broth. So stock is a flavorful liquid that's made with bones and vegetables, and broth is just made with bones. Okay, so you're just not really getting the whole enchilada flavors. And so all of those cooking methods are great, but for vegetables to boil, you're boiling out all the nutrients, so I would recommend you steam them. And for proteins, you run the risk of overcooking them. So really, I really love steaming, and I think it's a really underutilized method of cooking in America. All right, so our fish looks to be just about done, because I'm a talker, and I can talk while it's cooking. So, and how do I know it's done? Well, I can see that it's flaking apart, which is always a good sign. Yes, so we'll just gently take that apart. And I know that it will continue cooking after I take it out, because that is the nature of cooking. That heat is retained for a little while, and then I don't want it to be overcooked, because I don't want tough fish. And so we'll take the rest of that out. That didn't come out too pretty because I had the wrong spatula, but that's okay. We'll just pretend that it did. Let's see if I can find the right spatula for the other one, but I can't find anything because my kitchen is a crazy place. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and take this salmon out. Salmon really can be served almost like tuna, a little on the rare side. I personally don't like salmon at all, so I wouldn't serve it any which way because I don't care for it. But many people do, and I often serve it when company comes because they really like it. So we've got our salt and pepper on there, which should be good to go there. I'm gonna hit it with a tiny bit of butter, just a little extra flavor. And when I say tiny, I mean a little tiny bit. So we're just gonna glaze the top of the haddock with some butter. Because haddock isn't a really strong flavored fish. So really it needs to pick up the flavors from what you're serving it with. And I think that's a delicious complement to that. Okay? So now I would plate it up. Let's talk a little bit about what you would serve in the daytime. I eat my carbs in the morning and at lunchtime. And at dinner time, I eat 50% vegetables and 50% protein, no carbs. So what would I serve? Vegetables and protein. But if I was having this at lunchtime and I wanted to serve something and I needed an extra boost of protein, quinoa is a fabulous choice. Quinoa is actually a protein and a carb. So you're getting a double bang for your buck, and it picks up flavors beautifully. So what you would do is you would bring it up to a boil, similar to what you would do for pasta, and you would cook it until it's tender. And I do mean a boil, full pot of water, drop it in, let it go. And then once it's, salted water, once it's gone and it's gotten soft, you could add lots of flavors to it. So you can use chopped onion and garlic and chopped peppers and anything else that you like to serve. You can tomato sauce, do what you want. You put it on the bottom just like you would pasta or rice, and then you place your proteins on top and serve it with vegetables on the side. Or you can cook it almost like risotto and add your vegetables in. All right, so then you have a balanced meal at lunchtime. Now you can be really weird like me and eat fish and vegetables in the morning for breakfast because I just don't care that it's a non-typical meal. To me, food is food and it's all fuel. So, but it's taken me a long time to get there. I used to be like, had to be breakfast foods in the morning and dinner foods at night. At any rate, I hope this was helpful for you. I hope you learned something new. I hope you'll try steaming your food instead of just boiling and frying and baking. Always important to try something new. I want to give you a couple additional items that you could use. This is Asian bok choy. Bok choy is delicious steamed. It takes a little bit longer than what we have together, so you go ahead and steam this. It takes about 10 minutes or so. Cut off the individual stalks. It makes a lovely, lovely side dish with a little bit of fish sauce or Asian hoisin sauce, and just a little bit goes a long way. I also have cabbage. Cabbage is wonderful steamed. You can stuff it, you can roll it and steam it. Lots of options. My main point tonight was just to get your mind thinking about steaming and talk about the difference between steaming, blanching, and boiling. So hopefully that's come across. At any time that you watch this, I know there's only a couple people on, at any time if you watch this and you have questions, please message me, comment below. If you watch the replay, comment the replay. If you found value in this, let me know you found value in it. And I wish you an amazing weekend. Remember to drink your water before every meal, 16 ounces, and eat veggies most. Eat sufficient protein and get movement. All right, I love you all. Have a great weekend. I will be back on Monday with a new topic. Bye.